This is Hollis Gainer coming at you once again. I want to say thank you for joining us here on our YouTube One Source channel. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do so. Also, go to our Facebook fan page and like us there. I know it's been a little while since I blogged you for a little bit, with some things and with some updates. But I've done some deep research and some deep meditation in regards to knowing, and I know that was the last thing I left off on. And it's been an amazing, enlightening journey to understand that term knowing, of knowing who you are inside the relationship, and also knowing who your partner is, your spouse or significant other, and who they are inside the relationship. I know we spoke a great deal on the definition of relationship, love and loving, and the difference between the two, and some other important aspects and fundamentals of having a good relationship and what makes up a relationship. Now, I know from the term knowing, most of us will look at it from that aspect of biblical knowing, or knowing through a physical or sexual connotation of knowing someone or being with someone. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. In that, when you know who that person is, or who your significant other is, or that spouse, and who you are, it opens up a whole new playing field, a whole level of consciousness for you. When you have a understanding of knowing who you are, not what you are, knowing who you are, and knowing who you are inside the relationship, it adds to the foundation of having a good, strong relationship that can't be permeated by anything. Past events, history with one person, history of another person. It all just kind of bounces off the sphere of the relationship that you have with your partner, significant other, or your spouse. I know I said earlier when we were speaking of the difference between love and loving, I mentioned how I met my wife, in that I knew her out of a crowd of people. Like I said, I always tell the story about how we met, because I've always been one to not believe in love at first sight, but it was more love at first contact, I would say. Like I said, we met on we talked on the phone for almost 8 hours, and as I said, many people that know me, you'll get maybe a 15-minute conversation out of me on the phone, but we spoke for almost 8.5 hours, and then when we had the opportunity to see one another, like I said, it was in the crowded mall in a public area, and right away when I saw her, I knew her. So let's take that that aspect of knowing and go with it, and back in the book of Genesis, and back into Adam, and Adam knew his wife Eve, and they conceived and bore a child. Now, again, we always think of it as, well, they had sex and they gave birth to Cain. Well, let's take it again into a deeper aspect and say Adam knew his wife intimately. Her ups, her downs, her sadness and her gladness, what made her happy, what made her sad. Like I say, he knew her on an intimate level. He knew her on a spiritual, a spiritual connection. He knew his wife. Like I said, they shared dreams together. They shared ideas together. They shared a connection together that no one else could produce. No one else could give them. No one else could break. They shared, like I said, they shared an intimate knowledge of one another, not just a physical sense, but an intimate knowledge of one another. And when we have that type of knowing, when we're in a relationship that is plentiful, we tend to forget that whatever we create with one another is what we produce. That's our fruit. You know, I know. Again, I mentioned earlier that we take a look at the fruit of the spirit, of the fruit of the tree of good and evil, and we always look at it as a piece of fruit, as an apple or what have you. But there really was no description that was given. You know, most people think it was a pomegranate fruit or something of that nature. But if we look carefully, and even if we go further into the text, or even in sacred books, we look and see that it was a fruit of the things that could separate us from one another and separate us from the eternal. We brought something in: jealousy, strife, envy, those things that aren't good for us, good for relationship with one another, and good for a relationship with the eternal. You know, we brought fleshly fruit in, and again, when we look at, well, what is the fruit of the flesh? We've named it. There's hate, there's envy, there's strife, there's jealousy, idolatry. Those things that aren't healthy for us inside the relationship because they tend to separate us. You know, and then on the flip side to that is good. Well, what's the fruit of the spirit? Well, there's love, there's joy, there's happiness, there's peace. You know, that's the opposite. And like I said, when we go a little bit further in understanding how Adam knew his wife Eve, we take a look at the story in its entirety, and that, well, after they were kicked out of the garden, they had to work. Well, let's bring it home a little bit. Well, after the honeymoon was over, you had 2 weeks of bliss with your spouse and your significant other, and you're on vacation, and everything is wonderful, everything is hunky-dory, everything is blissful. You're in the Garden of Eden, working and going and doing things together. And then routine starts to set in. Well, the honeymoon's over. You know, and like I said, routine starts to set in. You know, those things that may bring us apart. Work, career, children, the girls, the guys, you know, doing things that are separate and apart from one another. They kind of permeate into the relationship and separate the two of you. You know, that bad fruit comes in. You know, like I said, that silver-tongued devil starts speaking softly and whispering in to your spouse's ear, your significant other's ear. And he even speaks into your ear and says things to you that, hey, you know, or hey, doesn't that look good, or hey, doesn't that, you know, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. Well, that kind of separates them. And then after a while, you miss that intimacy. And you're like, okay, when we come back together and we begin to know each other again, and we get to know intimately, well, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to move forward? Well, now we give birth to some dream. We have a nice house now, a nice car, and you know, all those things that we just mentioned. And you know, it starts to separate us again. And because now we have to work in order to pay bills, in order to pay the mortgage, in order to pay the car note, in order to pay this credit card and that credit card, this dental bill and that medical, that medical bill. And now we're separated again. You know, and it says again that Adam knew his wife Eve, and they gave birth to Abel. If we take a look at the essence of Abel and what he actually represents with inside the relationship, you know, well, now those things have kind of overshadowed that spiritual walk that you used to take, those walks in the park that you used to take, date night that you used to do, those things that will bring you together and create a spiritual harmony between the two of you. Well, now Cain kills Abel. Well, now the job, the career, the kids, the mortgage, the car note, doing this, doing that, this dental bill, that hospital bill, or that doctor bill, starts to kill April. Because now you got to work overtime, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. And you're not spending time together to know each other intimately. Not just physically, but intimately connecting with one another again. And so Adam knew his wife Eve again, and they gave birth to Seth. And it says, and you have to look at the wording now, and it says this is the beginning of Adam's bloodline. This is the beginning of Adam and Eve's spiritual child. This is the beginning of Adam and Eve's spiritual journey together for humanity. How to rise up above. You know what? If we lose the house, it's okay. You know what? If we lose the car, it's okay. You know, if we lose a job, it's okay. If we can't pay, if we don't have this credit card, it's okay. Kids grow up and you know what? They're going to be grown and they're going to be on their way. But we have each other and we have a spiritual connection with one another that can't be broken. I think that's the crux of marriages that have lasted 25, 30, 35, 40, even 50 years. Because they have looked at, it's not about the career anymore. It's not about the house anymore. It's not about the car or the kids, because the kids are growing up and they're on their way and doing their thing and they're in college and so forth and so on. It's about us and what we can do. I'll never forget that my father said to my mother, he said that he shared this with me, and I'm sharing it with you, that he said, we've been together for 50 years, and it's been a great 50 years. Let's have another 50 years to where we can do more for one another and do more with each other. And I thought that was the most awesome thing. Like I said, they've been married together. They've had their ups or downs, and Lord knows, they've been through the ringer, or at least I know I put them through the ringer. But at any rate, they've come together in such a way now that they enjoy spending time together, and their union is livelier because they can look back and see the fruit of their labor that they produced, and they produced good fruit. And what I mean by that, not just myself and my siblings, that we've done some good things and we've had some successes, but when you enter into their home, you have such a profound feeling of love and peace and tranquility that's there. It wasn't the house that did it, because the house is just 4 walls. It was them. They did it through their intimate knowing of one another. That's where you need to begin. I know who my spouse is. I know who she is to me. Do I know who I am and who I am to her or to him? Or to my significant other. But that's about all the time I've got right now. Next will be part 2 to the knowing aspect. We'll get more into knowing who you are inside the relationship, and like I said, knowing you, knowing who you are. You're not a title. You're not husband. You're not wife. You're not Mr. Man. You're not Superwoman. Frying up the pan. However they put that anyway. But who you are in a spiritual nature, and who you are inside the relationship in that spiritual aspect, and how your spouse or your significant other sees you to them. Now, like I said, that's in part 2. Again, thank you for joining us on our YouTube channel here at One Source. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Please do. Don't forget to go to our Facebook fan page and like us there. Again, my peace I give to you. My peace I leave with you. One hope, one love,